Thank you for joining us. Today we continue our extensive coverage of Day 3 of the Social Media Strategies Summit, in which Dr. Nat was able to interview Mark Yolton. Mark Yolton leads the digital marketing, online communities, and social media of SAP, a company that definitely gets its customers. Here's Dr. Nat.
I'm here with SAP, one of my favorite brands, and we're going to talk about disco. We're going to talk about return on investment. We're going to talk about influencers and contributors. We're going to talk about user-generated content. I think that we need to write a book because what you gave me to talk about today is an amazing strategy. So where should we start? Disco?
Let's start with disco. And maybe I should introduce myself.
Good idea.
That would be the best thing.
That would be great.
So I'm Mark Yolton. I'm a senior vice president at SAP, and I do manage an organization called Disco. Disco stands for Digital, Social, and Communities, and that's what encompasses the team that I have within this large enterprise software company. Digital, of course, is sap.com, and it's 70 websites in 40 languages around the world. The 70 websites are country sites. Social is social media. It's our participation on public social media that everybody knows, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. And then communities, we host our own online community for our customers, our partners, prospects. It's a very open community. It's hosted by SAP for the benefit of our customers, but anybody can join it, including our competitors.
And you said there's 2 million people in there?
Yeah, there are about 2 million members of this community. It's existed for 10 years. This is our anniversary year coming up.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. We launched in May 2003, so this will be our 10th anniversary.
Sounds like a party to me.
Yeah, it does. It does. We'll have a party at SAP's big event called Sapphire and at TechEd. So TechEd is another piece that my team manages. And TechEd, SAP TechEd conferences are technical education conferences very much tied to that community, that 2 million community. We view TechEd as the physical manifestation of this online community. We get together once a year, and we call it our annual family reunion because we get all those people that are, tweeting and sharing Facebook posts and sharing discussion forum comments and blogs and so forth within this community all year. We finally all get together again, once a year for TechEd.
I think that was one of my favorite things when I started in social media was, you make friends online, you tweet, you DM, you Facebook, you exchange information, you help each other, you share stories. And then when you actually get to meet people, because you've had kind of a personal relationship with people, you get to know them. Then when you see them, it's like old home week. It's like hugs and, oh my God, I can't believe that's what you look like. And this is so exciting. So for me, it's still about the people.
It is. It really does turn into a family reunion. It feels that way when we see each other. These are conferences of 5, 6, 7,000 people.
And that's a big family.
That's a big family. But we get together once a year and often don't get to see each other. In the community itself, online, 365 days a year, people are helping each other. It's very altruistic. Nobody's paid to offer advice to each other.
See, that's what I love. I mean, here we have one of the largest brands on the planet, one of the largest software companies that's been around for many, many years. And people say, "Oh, Dr. Nat, B2C companies can do social media. It doesn't work for B2B." And here you are standing before me, telling me that you're transforming the corporate culture and the outlook in B2B. And I think that's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I feel like we are, number one, we are a B2B company, but we're trying to be less B2B. We are really marketing to people.
You heard it here.
Yes.
From Mark and I, that is B2P,
yes.
Business to people, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're a consumer or a professional in an organization, you're a person, and you want to be treated fairly and uniquely and specially. And so when you take the approach that you're taking, it really makes a difference.
It does. And people want to feel like they're adding value and that they're being helpful to others. They were all beginners at some point and somebody else helped them. And they want to turn around and pay it forward to the next person so that they're helping others to also become proficient in this very complex business software world. So it's very altruistic. They really simply enjoy connecting with each other, people who have shared interests, shared careers, shared topics, or whatever the core technology topic is that they're concerned about or working in. They really like building up more expertise and sharing with people who share that same passion. And so we're very much trying to be a B2P company. We're marketing to people. People buy software, buildings don't, and big corporations don't. People make the decisions. So we are marketing to those people and connecting with them in our online community that we host, in social media, through our website, all manner of ways.
Okay, so let's go to business results. So you talked to me about sales and you talked to me about cost savings. So I do a lot of ROI calculations, and those are the two buckets that we start with. So let's talk about your experience with social media and sales.
Okay, in sales, we're using, think of it as a funnel, even though it's not linear anymore. It's not
I
a
call
linear
it the
funnel.
marketing pretzel.
Okay, the marketing pretzel. We have chutes and ladders as a
Nice, I like
right?
that,
Okay,
yeah.
up and down and sideways and left and right. So we think about if we condense it to a funnel and say, okay, there's a process. We want to attract net new customers or prospects to us. We're using social media to a large extent to do that because it has great reach. So we're using social media and the friends of our friends or the friends of our followers to increase our reach and to attract. We're also using social media and our online community and our digitalproperties.com, traditional websites, as a way to educate and inform, especially people that don't really know what SAP does or has some old notion of what SAP is. We're a 40-year-old company that got its start in Germany in enterprise resource planning.
That's what ERP stands for, in case you're wondering.
Yes, that's ERP. But we still do that, of course. We have business applications, but we're into mobile and mobile enablement and device management. We're the world's largest cloud company. People don't necessarily know that.
Well, and I was just at the SAP on HANA event and looking at in-memory and data crunching of big data. So if you're wondering what to do with all that big data, this is the guy.
Exactly. So we're in big data. We're in all these areas that our customers may not even realize that we're in. So we do some education and informing, and we're doing that through social media and online properties and so forth. And then we need to convert them. And so we draw people to sap.com and have a number of ways that we convert them from an anonymous visitor into a contact and into a lead that we then pass on to our sales force. Last year alone, we delivered 590,000 leads to our sales force through social media and online digital channels.
That makes me so happy. I can't even tell you, because I'm such an advocate for social media, and I really look to partner and talk to people who are truly doing this and not just talking about it in a theoretical way, but actually getting results. So I just really want to take 1 nanosecond here and acknowledge what you're doing, because it's that you're getting business results. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And the ability to measure those. I mean,
Yes.
we always assumed, well, if customers are happier and we make them satisfied, then they're more loyal, but we could never really measure that. We're now measuring it. We're able to measure it, and we're able to look at how much of our leads and our business is being drawn through pull methods rather than push, old style marketing. So we're looking at all of those things. Yep.
So you get a lead, and then you convert that person maybe with some thought leadership, a white paper, a webinar, and then you're able to get their email information. And then how does sales follow up with them?
Sales follows up in usually the traditional ways. We have an inside sales organization that'll do phone calls. We have account executives that'll go out and call on some of our larger customers. In some cases, what we're finding is different departments within an existing customer will learn about some solution that we have available to them, so that would be an account executive. Other times it'll be a smaller medium enterprise. We'll either follow up with them directly or we pass it to our channel partners. So our partners are also very important within our ecosystem. So there's all manner of ways. It depends on the customer and the need and the solution that we think we have for them.
I was at an event in Seattle that you guys sponsored. It was a dinner, and some people there were there from the 49ers and Philips and a number of other really amazing companies. And it was so much fun to see them engage and talk to each other, and then really touched my heart how the sales reps, they weren't trying to push anything. They were just being part of the crowd and being part of the thought leadership. And so to see business transform into this more altruistic type culture, I've been waiting for this, I don't know, since I was born probably. I was born with that DNA, and it's been a struggle to be in corporations that aren't like that, but you're truly embracing that.
Well, we think that we have one of the best sales forces in the world. I mean, they're just extraordinary. Their professionalism, their knowledge of our industry, of our customers' industries. we think is second to none. So we're really proud of our sales force. In addition, our sales force is getting more social. They're looking to us, to our team, the Disco team at SAP, for insight and ways that they can become more social. So we advise them, look, follow some of your customers on LinkedIn, right? The individuals as well as the companies.
Basic 101,
right?
yeah.
That's Basic 101. Listen to them. Also, look at who those customers are starting to follow. If they're following the competitor, there's a problem, potential problem. Maybe they're shopping around. If they're posting something on Twitter, you may be able to learn about some business frustration that we have a solution to that they didn't know that we had a solution to. There's all manner of ways that we can connect with them. And so we're advising our sales force on how to do this. Now, as a broader company, to become more social or to be more altruistic, one of the knocks against SAP in the past was that we were rigid, we were so process-oriented, sort of inflexible. That's the old SAP. It's long gone. The company has transformed over the past decade or so in that we've really turned inside out. We've turned transparent, open, collaborative, flexible. So really it's a different company, and I think social media has played a role in that.
Right, that totally makes sense to me. Okay, so let's talk about beyond marketing, the product development aspect. And in my talk yesterday, I looked at how you can use the data from social media to change the direction of your product. So maybe it could be a priority of a feature or function or direction, and there's very large ROI for that. Are you guys seeing that?
We are, and I mentioned our community, which is almost 10 years old now. In our community, we were getting 3,000 to 4,000 discussion posts every day, and many of those were either, I don't understand how this software works, I don't know how to install it.
See, now, to me, that's a marketing question,
Absolutely.
right? A question
Absolutely.
means I have interest and I want to know more, right? So companies who invest in education and support and help, well, why would we want to be like that? It's really the top of the funnel.
Absolutely. And we saw those as opportunities that were sort of going by the wayside. We did have product managers who were helping to answer those questions or finding the right customers who could answer those questions. But at 3,000 or 4,000 a day, it was just like a tidal wave coming over us, right? So what we did a couple of years ago was we put in place a system whereby customers could offer suggestions or requests on features and functionality on a specific product. And then other customers could build on those ideas, so they were well-formed ideas and not sort of a half-baked one person's perspective, and make them even better ideas and suggestions. And then everybody could vote up or down, which are the good ideas. Because out of those 3,000 or 4,000 a day, we couldn't tell which were the good ones, which ones somebody would buy against, etc.
And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, Dr. Nat, can you really get anything out of online communities? And I think in the old days, you're right. There would be one person who was really, really pro and maybe a couple people who were just bashing the brand. And there wasn't any concrete way to really discern what was important. But with these new technologies, where we're really having a discussion and you can vote and rank and aggregate that data, what I tell executives, especially CEOs, is that data is gold. You really need to be looking at this because it will change the direction of what your company's doing.
Absolutely. And we won't open one of these idea spaces until our product managers have agreed already up front that they're going to devote a certain amount of their development budget over the next couple of years to developing against the ideas that come from the community.
See, I love that because that's walking your talk. Because if you ask people for their opinion or you provide a space for that, but then you don't interact or you don't take that seriously, and I don't mean to say that any company isn't taking customer feedback seriously, but what I found with social media, whether it's you and I who do this for a living, right? It takes time, it takes energy, and it takes a reallocation of resources to put people in that community to be able to interact. And then I think Gartner had a really interesting statistic that said 95% of companies ask for feedback, 5% actually do something with it, and 2% actually tell the customer that we listened and here's the changes. That's crazy kooky.
Crazy. Yeah, we felt it really important that better not to open a space at all. We've even had some customers that said, I really want to comment on this particular product. And we said, no, we're not going to open that space because the product managers aren't ready yet. Once the product managers agree, then we have a process and we say, look, it's really important that you give that feedback back to the customer to say, we selected, idea 1 through 10 plus 12 and 13. We're not going to do the other 17 that you suggested for various reasons. Our partners can go do it if they want to. This is all open, so they can see who voted on what. Our partners can compete with us on 1 through 10 if they want to. It's their choice. But we're very open with the customers and the people who have offered these ideas about what we're going to do with them. Either our intentions are that we're going to build and develop against this, or we're not, or we don't know yet. It's just not time yet. So having that feedback loop is really important. Otherwise, you set expectations that you can't meet, and that's worse than not doing anything at all.
Agreed, because one of the things that I learned when I was a management consultant was that it's really important to acknowledge people, and people who contribute to something have more buy-in, which means that they'll pay attention, they'll support, they'll be a returning customer, and just letting them know, look, we are listening but like if you can't do anything else, just say we're listening. We may not be moving as fast as you would like, but we're here and we're paying attention. And that in itself can be galvanizing.
The fact that these customers are offering the ideas and taking the time out of their busy schedules, I mean, they've got jobs to do and so forth, to really go into great detail on some of the things that they would like from us.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
It's like if they're taking the time, and you're absolutely right, they are busy professionals. If they are reaching out to you and saying, what would be better if, or how about, that's really, companies that are paying attention to that are clearly understanding this new world.
Absolutely. And once we develop something that they've had a hand in suggesting or designing, gosh, they're going to become our best advocates, both within their companies and to other companies about this great idea that they think is really interesting and that they're passionate about. So we find that they become our salespeople inside our accounts as well.
Right, and that's part of where the ROI is. Okay, so let's talk about cost savings.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the cost savings of having our customers answer our other customers' support questions.
Now, see, that's really another interest, because I get CEOs getting all like the heebie-jeebies, and what if they say something wrong? What if they sue us? And what we found, because this is the place where I got my start in social media ROI, I was working with an online community vendor, and what we found was the advocates know more about the software or the product than anybody in the company, which they were kind of like, really? And when they understood the resource, and those people, my old call center analogy was, okay, so you want 20 people to post 20 hours a week and the pay is zero. How many people would show up for that job?
Right.
Ain't nobody showing up,
Nobody
right?
wants to do that.
But when you have online communities and you build advocacy and you appreciate them, they will go to bat for you.
Our customers know so much more about our own products and solutions than
because
our
they're
product
using
managers
it.
do every
Well,
day
how can
in
you?
real life.
How can you know? As much as I love product managers, because I was one myself, unless you're actually taking the product day in and day out and actually tweaking it, playing with it, trying to make it do what you wanted it to do, you don't know what you don't know, and that's gold.
Absolutely. Using the product in real life is completely different than the theoretical back in the lab where you were developing this thing under perfect conditions and everything else. We even found that our customers were having trouble with the documentation that we produce. Documentation is notoriously bad in the software world. It's sort of the last thing that you do. Nobody really wants to do it.
User manuals,
who
boring.
wants to write the user manual,
Nobody
right?
does.
So what we did was we opened a wiki and had our customers help us rewrite the documentation. And
Hello,
it was
there it
amazing
is.
how passionate they were about getting the documentation just right and just clear enough so that anybody could install this or configure it or could optimize the software. So having your customers involved in this is really important. Having them answer some of the basic support questions. Now, we don't turn over full, technical support, that deep stuff that customers pay for. They pay good money for a call center and technical support behind the scenes, but there's a lot of how-to questions. Where do I find the right manual? Where do I find the right information? If in my industry, what would be a good way to configure this software? Is there something special about Brazil and how I should code for the taxes and so on in Brazil or Argentina or wherever it might be? There are nuances that our customers can offer that we, SAP, even our own product developers can't do. They also get to share best practices with each other that we would not know about. And many of our customers, think public sector, State of Maryland would develop something and offer it to State of Florida. You don't have to go repay a systems integrator to reinvent something that we've already invented. We've invented a new revenue, capture model around lotteries. Okay, here, any other state can use the same thing and use SAP software in order to capture that revenue. So there's a lot of sharing that goes on, not just of, I have a problem, I have a challenge, I have a how-to question, sort of light support, but also best practices. What are the best ways to implement given my certain situation? Our customers are happy to help each other to be successful, and we love it.
We used to call that in engineering, because I do have a PhD in engineering, lessons learned. And we would do a project, and then we would sit around the room and we'd do lessons learned. But most of the time we would do it among our own engineering team, but we wouldn't necessarily do that with our customers or get this type of customer input. And so, again, my heart is warmed by what you guys are doing.
Imagine sharing that with 2 million other customers, right? Instead of with your small project team, very valuable, but 2 million other customers would love to learn that experience from somebody who's paved the way for them.
And just understanding that information is there, right? That I could go there and I could learn from people. Because I think the biggest, and you remember the statistics in the old days when I was a management consultant, it's kind of like half my advertising dollars are wasted. I just don't know which half. For CRM, 75% of the installations in ERP went upside down. And I think a lot of it was people didn't know what they didn't know. We didn't have these sharing instances. People maybe on their third or fourth company where they were implementing, they actually got smart. But just think about the billions of dollars that we could have saved everyone had we had this ability to interact and share.
Yeah, it's the wisdom of the crowd shared with everybody, so that instead of re-experiencing a mistake and having to learn from your own mistakes, you get to learn from the mistakes that other people made before you. It is very complex software. It runs some of the biggest companies on the planet, governments, really complex stuff. So of course it's going to be complicated. There's a lot of places where you have to make decisions, and if you make the wrong decision without fully realizing what the implications are, you head down a wrong path. And so learning from other customers in order to be successful, that's golden.
That's great. So Mark, what else do you want to leave me with before we wrap up?
I think what I would leave you with is the notion that it isn't just support, it isn't just marketing, it isn't just product development. Social media, communities, digital, all these areas that are intertwined are going to make their way into every part of business. We're finding it, of course it shows up in talent management. As you think about who are you going to hire, you look on LinkedIn to see what their profile is. You might even do background checks to see what they're
I've gotten
really
jobs because people went, oh, she knows about social media,
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
in terms of being hired, in a company, or actually, having companies come and say, hey, could you do this webinar? Because I tweet a lot about social media, or I'm very passionate, like, look, this is real. This is affecting your bottom line. I'm really a stand for that. So when people understand, it is everything from HR to back office.
Yeah, and we're even thinking, at some point down the line, we're not going to talk about social business anymore. It's just
I know,
gonna
we'll
be
stop
business.
saying that.
Yeah.
And people
Then
go,
we'll know we have arrived.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
I hope that I don't have blue hair by the time that happens. Actually, I'll never have blue hair. But what's interesting is that we've used these terms, I think, because we need to separate it from the old, and now we're saying this is social business is the new way to do business. And you're right, when we truly integrate this whole idea of inside out and outside in, and collaboration and communication, like true,
Altruistic
sharing, that when that becomes the norm in companies, then we'll stop saying this. I don't know what we'll call it. We'll just say, hey, business as usual.
Business as usual. We used to talk about a cordless phone. It used to be a big deal. Now, can you imagine somebody talking about, I just got a new cordless phone? That sounds ridiculous.
No, that's ridiculous,
right? It's just
right.
a phone.
Right.
And so at some point we're going to stop saying social business. It's just going to be business, but it's going to be an expectation. And unless businesses and governments, agencies, and so forth get going now and get proficient at this, they're going to be left behind. They're going to really be at a disadvantage. So it's important to get going now and to become proficient, because the downside is the company is no longer relevant. It's no longer serving its customers, no longer efficient, it's no longer innovating. There's a problem ahead for those who don't jump on the bandwagon.
Danger, Will Robinson. I know that I grew up in the auto industry in Detroit. I worked for General Motors. My dad worked for Ford. And I used to sit at the dinner table and he'd tell me these horror stories and talk about Deming and how he was saying, listen to your employees and your customers. And when I got into, and you didn't see my talk yesterday, but I talked about my very first engineering meeting. I was creating tungsten carbide tool bits. Very exciting. Not so much, but anyways, GE, I still love you. And there was a conversation around, we were coating them with titanium nitride and aluminum oxide. And so there was a discussion, the gold ones or the white ones, which ones should we make more of? And sales was like, look at the figures, the gold ones. And engineers going, no, 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 the white ones, the aluminum oxide, because they're tougher and they last longer. So I raised my hand and I said, well, have we talked to our customers? What do they think? The room started bursting into laughter. This is my first
You were the
day.
new kid, that's
I was
why.
I was the kid.
Yes.
I was the girl.
Yeah.
Sorry. And so I was like holding back the tears. I was like, and then I kept hearing my grandfather's voice in my head. And he said, you're a smart girl. Go ask the customer. Mm-hmm. So I asked my boss. I said, can I have 2 tool bits? I want to go do a little focus group. And he's like, you're still on that? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, clock out because I ain't paying you for this. Mm-hmm. So I went to the local machine shops there on 8 Mile in Detroit. And I held up the 2 tool bits. And these are guys, machinists that have been doing this for 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. I said, which one do you like better and why? Guess what they chose?
White?
Gold.
I have no idea.
They chose the gold.
Yeah.
Not because they knew the white one would last longer. They chose the gold because it made them happier.
Oh, nice.
Right? And I said, okay, tell me more about that. And he said, look at the floor, look at the walls, look at our equipment. It's gray.
Yeah.
It's ugly and boring in here. And those little tool bits brighten something up. Mm-hmm. So that was my experience in the very beginning of my engineering career. And to be able to look back on that and be a stand for change, be a stand for really, employees talking to employees, management talking to customers, all those different, 360 conversations. It's just, I'm just in awe. I'm sorry. I keep saying this about you, Mark, but I'm thrilled.
Thank you. We're having a good time. One of the things that these new tools and this new, social business, social media capability gives us is a way for us to talk to customers, real live customers, on a day-to-day basis. And you don't have to be the big CMO or the big CEO. You don't even have to be an account rep. You can just be anybody within the company and have a direct line to talk to customers about the area that matters to you and to find the customers that care about that little tiny corner of the company that you might be involved in. It's a fabulous thing to be able to talk to customers directly. You forge relationships, you figure out who the influencers are, you find out who has the better opinions, the opinions that really seem to resonate and catch fire. And some of the people who are the squeaky wheels, you get all of the different nuance. But to be able to talk to customers directly is just an amazing thing, and to get real-time feedback, immediate feedback within seconds on Twitter, within hours or days. If you want to do something more formal and long-term now is a couple days. It's just an extraordinary time to be able to interact with customers, and by doing so, to serve them better. And when we serve them better, we win.
Right. Real-time collaboration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Nat. And SAP definitely understands its customers, and it shows in their numbers. Well, that's it for now. Until next time.